In this lecture, we'll implement the getOrders lambda function that will return all the orders from the database. Right now, it is just returning a single object we are creating in memory. That is not what we want. So start by creating an instance of Amazon DynamoDB client, Amazon DynamoDB client builder. Use that guy. .default client will give us the client back. Hit Control+1. Assign statement to a local variable, call it DynamoDB. So we are creating the client slightly different manner than when it is compared to the create order lambda. Here we are saying new DynamoDB. The reason is that this wrapper class DynamoDB has this get table method which we can use to get access to the table and put items into the table. But we don't need it in case of read orders lambda. We can directly work with the interface and the default implementation that comes back of this Amazon DynamoDB on this DynamoDB client, which points to the database. We scan the database. So scan is the method, and it takes a scan request. So new scan request, semicolon at the end. You can pass the table name right here, dot with table name. System dot get environment. You know how to pass the table name. You go to the template, copy the environment variable, come back, paste it there. So we are just giving the table name to the scan request so that that table in this database can be scanned. Once scanned, how do we get the results back? Hit Control+1, assign statement to a new local variable, and we have the scan result. It has all the items from that table. Scan result dot get items will give us all the items from the table. You can stream on it, and then you can convert it into stream order object. So each item in the database table can be converted into a order POJO by using the map method. And to this map method, you can pass in a Java lambda function like an arrow function. Item maps to a new order object. Every item in the database, we create a new instance of order. To that constructor, we pass in the fields which we read from this item. So the constructor takes three values. Item dot, the very first one is the ID. So get method, pass in the key. Key is the ID. But the catch here is that this get method is not that straightforward. It returns an attribute value. On this ID, on this get method, we in turn needs to invoke get. There are different methods for different data types. If you remember the JDBC result set, if you have ever used it, it is similar to that. We have to invoke the appropriate method get n for a numerical type. And once we get that, we'll have to parse it into the Java type. So integer dot parse int, that whole thing. So close the bracket somewhere there, and I will take this to the new line so that it will be easy for you to read. So that is the first field to the constructor. Then the second field starts right there. In a similar fashion, we say item dot get. Let me make sure I got the brackets right there. So this bracket ends there, and this bracket ends at the end, and then parse int. So wherever this ends, the new order is ending right there. So I should start right there, comma, item dot. The second field is the item name, and this guy is a string. So we don't have to do much work. Simply invoke right there dot get yes method, S for string. So that will be automatically taken care of for us. We don't have to parse it to a string object. Next, comma, one more item dot the last one within double quotes quantity. Quantity again is an integer, so we'll have to invoke dot get n method and then parse this integer dot parse int. Open the bracket there and close it right after that get n method. It's a little involved, as I said, and at the end of it we have to invoke dot to collect, so that we'll get a collection back. So that's the last thing we have to do. Dot collect method. Pass in what type of collection you want. Collectors dot list, to list. That will return a collection back. So that's one long line there. Hit Control 1, assign statement to a local variable, and we finally have a list of orders. And we can pass this list of orders to the write value as string that we have created earlier. Object mapper dot write value as string, give that list, and it will convert it into a object array. And you can delete this order object which we have created here. We no longer need it. Do a Control Shift F to format. So this JSON, whatever the database items are converted into JSON, that JSON will be sent back in the response. So in this lecture, you have created a database client object, used that client object to scan through the database, this particular table, get the items back, convert those items by streaming through them, by mapping one record at a time, one column or one key in the database table's record to the order fields by using the order constructor. This was the only part that was a little involved. Otherwise, it's a very simple, straightforward code.